In this video, I'm going to explain why every beginner should consider getting a 35 or a 50 millimeter prime lens. Hello and welcome. I'm not a type of photographer who likes to buy a lot of gear. In fact, I'm very minimalist in what I like to take with me. And I don't like to recommend for beginners spend a lot of money on equipment they don't need. The 50 millimeter prime lens is the exception to that rule. This lens is so fun and the pictures look great right out of the camera. That's why I nicknamed this the Miracle Lens. And the best part is, it's the least expensive lens on the market. For Canons, these usually start about $180 Canadian or about $140 US. For Nikon cameras, they're about $50 more. And of course, for Sonys and Fujis, they're probably about $300 and up. What is a prime lens? Prime lenses are lenses that have a fixed focal length. There's no zoom. You have to get closer or further away from the subject to use it. It does one job and it does it very well. The kit lens that came with your camera is very good for scenery, architecture, taken to the mountains. Most kit lenses are 18 millimeters when it's wide open and 55 millimeters when it's zoomed in, whereas the 50 millimeter prime lens is stuck at 50 millimeters. The biggest difference is these have a much wider aperture than your kit lens, and we're going to cover aperture priority mode in the next video. But what this means basically is these will let in 4 times more light, which means you can shoot indoors if you're going to be taking pictures of birthday parties, concerts, and then you don't want to have to use camera flash, you'll want one of these lenses. The drawback, of course, is because there's no zoom, you're going to have to keep walking further and further away, and sometimes you run out of room. These 50 millimeter prime lenses are not designed for scenery. They're meant for taking portraits, pictures of bugs, pets, flowers. But let's look at these two pictures. This one is taken with my expensive camera with the kit lens. You notice the flash had to pop up to get the exposure? This picture over here was taken with my 10-year-old Canon Rebel with a 50 millimeter prime lens. It was able to take the picture without camera flash. That's also why these lenses are very popular with street photographers who like to shoot after dark. Professional concert photographers will use a much more expensive 200 or 300 millimeter prime lens. And another reason why you want one of these 50 millimeter prime lenses is for taking portraits. You notice in this picture how the background is really blurry? This is called the bokeh effect. A kit lens can do a modest job of bokeh effect. Because the 50 millimeter prime lens has a much wider aperture, you can create ridiculous shallow depth of field, creating that dreamy, smooth bokeh effect. That's why you're going to think you're a great photographer right away when you get one of these. Every portrait and wedding photographer carries a 50 millimeter prime lens. However, there are more expensive ones. There's an 85 millimeter prime lens for about $800. A 200 millimeter prime lens is probably close to $3,000. For the price and value you'll get from a 50 or a 35 millimeter prime lens, it's worth every penny. And look how small they are. You can carry this with you anywhere. You can pick up a 50 millimeter prime lens from just about every single camera store, and they would love to sell you one. If you have one of those expensive full-frame Nikons, I recommend the 50 millimeter prime lens. If you have one of those entry-level Nikons, I recommend the 35 millimeter prime lens. And I put a link to all these lenses in the description below. If you have any questions or comments or suggestions about this video, please leave it in the comment section below. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel to see all my beginner photography videos. And here is a tip from my wife. When you buy one of these prime lenses, it comes with a lens hood. That's meant to keep ambient light from the side from coming in. However, they also make a great way to protect your lens. If you drop your camera, there's a very good chance that your lens hood will break and not your camera. So use your lens hood to help protect your camera. I really hope you enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching.